We actually have our first phone caller on the line tonight, Paul from Panama City Beach. He has a question about an old ticket. Paul, you can go ahead with your question now.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call. Am I live?
Go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I moved here from South Texas in 2007, and I recently received a demand letter from a law firm in San Antonio that I had a ticket that wasn't paid from 2004, 17 years ago. And I've gotten 3 letters in the last month demanding payment, telling me that there's a warrant for my arrest. And my initial reaction was I contacted the Texas state attorney and filed a complaint. The second one, I filed a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission for fraud, and I still keep getting these letters, and I don't have any recollection. I was in South Texas in 2004 when this occurred, but I know me, and if there had been some kind of a warrant for my arrest or a failure to appear, I would have paid it. Now I'm just wondering what to do about this.
Well, first thing I think you need to do is get us a copy of that correspondence, and you've contacted the right people. For folks that may not understand this, when somebody is trying to collect a debt, there's a couple different ways you can go. Number one is the Federal Trade Commission. Number two, there is actually a private cause of action against somebody who's trying to collect a debt that's not owed. And so that's what's called Fair Debt Collection Practices Act case. And even though it ties into our automobile, it's a little bit different of something that we do within our practice. But if somebody is trying to collect a debt and it is not a good debt, and here, my goodness, it's 2004, I even think that there's a statute of limitations on traffic tickets and collection, even for the state of Texas. Now, I'm not licensed in the state of Texas, but certainly we can check into it. First of all, the very first thing we can do is find out whether or not it's a valid ticket. And number two, find out if there is a warrant for your arrest. And number three, if it's not, and this is some type of a scam, then we can put you in touch with the proper authorities. Since it's crossing state lines, we would, and they're utilizing the mail services. There's the U.S. Postal Inspector that we can contact for you, and also the FBI. The FBI is interested in cases involving consumer fraud if it is of a large nature. And they may have a book on this person or a book on this particular scam, and they can alert authorities and alert others to put the word out that, look, something pending from 17 years ago is not a valid debt. And typically any other valid debt, it would be wiped off. It would be well beyond the statute of limitations. So that's what we'll look into for you, Paul. So we've got your number. We'll give you a ring tomorrow and trying to get that information and try to help you out and put a very tight end on this particular situation for you.
Larry, just a quick follow-up to that for Paul or anyone else out there who might be wondering, wait, do I have an old traffic ticket, or how do you find out if you get one of those? I got one in Gainesville maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it was just an illegal parking ticket, and I didn't even see it on my car. You had to go to this website and pay it off on this website, and they can kind of get you to pay it extra by not making it aware that you have an outstanding ticket. And many people like me would say, well, I would have just paid it if you had told me. How can you check that? What's the best way to go about, even in the state of Florida?
Yeah, Chris, you want to go ahead and take that?
Well, Courtney, you can check in the clerk's office. Our clerk's offices are accessible online 24 hours a day, so you can actually run your own search of yourself to see if Courtney Mims has actually had more than a parking violation in Gainesville. But similar to what Paul's issue was, there's a clerk of court, and the clerk keeps all of these records. And the jurisdiction in Texas, contacting them would be my first step in starting that, to see if there's even a ticket that's even valid or even out there. And it could be one of those phishing scams too, Courtney, that we see. I mean, how many times have any three of us received a phone call about an outstanding warrant for us that came from Oregon or Texas or California, places we may have never even been before. And people are phishing for your social security number, they're phishing for your date of birth and valid addresses and identification. So you have to be extremely careful, but if you're in the state of Florida, Florida has a great clerk of court system that you can access 24 hours online, 7 days a week. And you can just run a search if you're that paranoid about it, not Courtney. So it may be the least of your worries. It may be the least of your worries.
I mean, she is a gator. I mean, we got to worry about this a little bit.
Oh, wow. I can't believe shots fired right there. I'm still a little
staying out of
bitter
this one.
Saturday.
I am staying out of this one tonight.
Hey, I did pay it off, but man, it was pretty hard to find it out. Yeah. You had to go through a couple of search engines, and you wonder, like you said, if you actually have one or you don't, and it's phishing or things like that, you have to be so careful these days.
If you do, Courtney, just contact the jurisdiction where that ticket originated and verify it with the clerk's office, and they'll be able to tell you whether it's valid or not.
I'll tell you another kind of scheme that's kind of shown up is people have this kind of smeared looking thing of your license plate, and then they send it to you and say, oh, you missed a toll, or you were in a toll booth, and send us money, and things of that nature. We've actually gotten probably 4 or 5 calls in the last 2 years on that, where somebody's like, I wasn't in Orlando, or I wasn't in Miami, or I wasn't in South Carolina, that have the toll passes all together. And so they try to put a warrant or a lien on the license plate and say, pay this, you could have paid it off for $23, but now it's $645. But call us up and we'll take care of it for you right away. And we have to quelch those kinds of things as well. It's rare that happens, but you start to see it, like Chris was saying. It might be a phishing scam. It might be some type of scam where they're trying to get your information. What you don't want to do is call them up and say, hey, you got the wrong guy. And they say, oh, well, let me check your date of birth. Oh, and what's the last 4 of your social security number? Oh, you're right, Mr. Perry, that's not you. That's the information that they're looking for, and bam, they got you, and now they got your information, and you better lock down your credit. Watch out.